Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another workshop from Pivot. Very excited to have two of some of the most exciting and impactful speakers and professionals within the AI field. Because the topic that we are covering for today is something I think a lot of people can resonate with and probably have been hearing about, which is AI's impact on engineering and key technical roles in this year. Um, AI has obviously made a lot of strides over the last 2 years, and what we used to think it's capable of doing just even last month has changed significantly to this month. And to cover that, to cover how people should be navigating this rapidly evolving landscape within AI, we have with us today Usha Jagannathan and Sharmila Devi. Again, two professionals who I hold in high regard and who have made a lot of impact within the field of AI. They are just there with us backstage, and I will be bringing them on up to the stage now. Just give me 1 second. Hi, Usha. I think we have Sharmila here as well.
Hey
Perfect.
Arjun, hey Usha. So sorry, I completely missed the dates. I thought it's tomorrow, so I was a bit relaxed and I had a lot of to-do items in my work, so I was just busy
Sharmila,
because of
no
that.
worries. We are live. We are live in the workshop, so we'll get started. Welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for making time for this. Really, really appreciate it. And Usha, especially, I know it's very early morning for you since you're in US, so really appreciate your willingness to
Yeah,
do this. So,
no worries.
just before we get started, I thought it would be good to do a quick round of intros, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can go first. For people who don't know me, my name is Arjun, and I'm the founder of Pivot. What we do at Pivot is help people make smooth and successful career transitions. What that means is anytime a person is thinking about changing not just their company, but let's say your whole domain or your industry, your level in the organization, or a couple of other inflection points like changing your country or returning to workforce after a gap. These are all areas that we help people navigate and land their target role. We do this in a couple of different ways, like connecting you with successful industry experts like Usha and Sharmila, and many others that we have as part of the platform. A couple of other things which we'll be talking about during the course of this conversation. But with that said, I would like to turn it over to Usha. Usha, welcome, and please go ahead and share your intro, whatever you would like to let the audience know in terms of your career journey.
Sure, sure. Yeah. Thank you, Arjun. Glad to meet you again and also Shamila. Yeah, my name is Usha Jagannathan. So, I've been in the career journey for over 25 years. Started off as a database developer and then you know, s- uh, moved into doing a lot of web programming, like a full stack, and then pivoted into, it's pretty much self-taught because my PhD was more into information technology, and then I pivoted into AI. So since I was working with the Arizona State University, since then I was with for the last 10 to 12 years, I would say that I've been in the AI space. Especially, if you're um, um, you know uh, if you're a data person, obviously you will tend to move into AI side depending upon which one you like it. So the same thing I also did. Started as a programmer and then pretty much as a database engineer, backend engineer, and then moved into AI space. We all know AI is driven by data. So my previous role was at McKinsey as a AI innovation leader, and then currently I lead the AI products at IEEE standards. I'm sure everybody knows what IEEE is. It's every student's dream, every engineer's dream to at least publish one paper, right, before their college, studies end. But it is much more than that. IEEE is also about all the standards that we set. It's a global standardization body, and that's where I work for on that business side. I build the AI products and also we build standards around it, or it is vice versa. We have standards and then we build AI products in the sense it would be training, conferences, events, but it is all related to AI. So yeah, and I've helped a lot of students because I've been in the university, um, particularly young women in STEM. So very glad to be here. It's more than a 30 minutes pitch. So I will hand it over to Sharmila.
Sure. Thank you so much, Usha. So first of all, I would like to extend my apologies. I think I messed up the dates from my end. So sorry for that. So giving a quick intro about myself, I'm Sharmila Devi. I'm an AI consultant, senior AI consultant at Google Cloud, and I work with different customers across different industries, help them solve their business use cases using AI and GenAI. So when I say AI and GenAI, it is both the traditional AI and the recent GenAI. What's best for them, help them do POCs, and how to push them to production. So there are a lot of nuances when enterprises actually do POCs, and when they push them to production, there are a lot of nuances there. So help customers on that specific things. And yes, so super glad to be here with Usha. I've also published a couple of research papers, attended conferences. The last three conference on artificial intelligence in IEEE. I've been to US and Singapore, and so presented in multiple forums. Yeah, super glad to be here. Yeah, thank you, Usha. Yeah.
Wonderful.
No, absolutely. Great. Thanks for that intro, both. Very helpful to understand, what work you've been doing. And I think we have done a couple of these sessions with you before, but what's happening is AI is moving at such a breakneck speed, that it's not sufficient to just do this once a year. I mean, the kind of stuff that's been coming out, and not just things that are happening at the ground level for sure, but they are so seen because there are people like Satya Nadella and Sundar Pichai and Sam Altman and so many other big names in the corporate honchos who've been talking about what kind of impact it will have. Just recently, I think it was maybe 3-4 days back, it was Mark Zuckerberg who had this interview with Joe Rogan, the number one podcaster in the world, and he talked about how in 2025 itself, meaning this year, Meta will be laying off many employees. They're laying them off for underperforming. But at the same time, he talked about how they will be having AI agents do a lot of the engineering work at the mid level, not at the even at the junior level, but at the mid level, starting this year itself. And initially, there will be hiccups. There may be higher costs of doing that, but that it's almost inevitable. And every company that is in the business of software will be replacing humans with AI starting this year. That's almost unfathomable that it's happening so soon. Just 2 years ago, we were just doing basic Chat GPT and Bard and Gemini, these kind of tools, and today you have mid-level human engineers being replaced by AI. So it obviously warrants another discussion because what we may have discussed last year is not static. It's very dynamic. Um, so the first thing that I wanted to ask, right, in the context of what I have shared, Usha, would love to get started with your thoughts on this. Which
Mhm.
areas of engineering specifically, or I know you also talked about data and analytics being very closely interrelated with AI. So you could perhaps take a broader approach and say there might be other roles as well. But which areas within engineering and then tech do you think will be most impacted by AI and automation today?
Most impacted by it. Well, okay. When we say impact specific roles, let's start with if QA testers. So if you take so AI can automate many of those testing tasks, right? Like whether when we are identifying bugs, when not when we are fixing it, but when we are identifying or any repetitive task, in those area, the QA for the QA automation, I think that is going to evolve, where it is, we definitely need some quality assurance input, like towards like how we are going to debug it. But I think, like, starting with the QA side, but also let's go move into the front end. If you're looking into the holistic way, if you take the front end side, it's going to automate some of this, like when you might have watched one of recent Sundar Pichai's like not a documentary. He was talking on PBS, so where he mentioned like 85% if we are doing it as humans, 15% is like the code generation. We could enable using a Google Gemini, or Microsoft Copilot, if it is AWS, like how we could be able to um, automate some of those tasks for code generation. And when we talk about front end, like where we could also, like how it could give some user experience suggestions for those design. So this would enable, be an enabler for the developers, so that we could be able to be more focused on problem solving, and how we could be able to create that user experience, what the suggestions the um, gen AI is providing, and then how we could be able to make it more engaging, more user friendly. And if you notice the very recent, the World Economic Forum report, it basically highlights that we need that importance of that first thinking, the design thinking principles. And when we have that principles and the empathy, the user empathy, then incorporating that in the front end will help in the future workforce. So that is something that they have highlighted in the report. I'm Because that's what I referred to on my post also, so that because they have done a very good job on the future 2025 jobs. And one more thing before I hand it over to Sharmila is on the back end. So we talked about QA, we talked about front end. If you take the back end, even there we could automate, because many of the things that we do today is like it's leveraged with APIs. So we could automate some of the tasks for the API development, and also on the infrastructure side, what all that we could be able to automate it. So if I'm using something on Bedrock, then what I could do on the infrastructure side, and then just take that boilerplate and adopt it. So backend engineers will also be able to, they need those specialized skills, in the sense like how they need to integrate this AML model, because not only you're taking those insights from the data scientist, but how you can integrate it. And then obviously the cloud infra that you need to know, which cloud infra you're going with, and then how you're doing those data engineering. So this is so if you look into taking it as three buckets, most of this, it will impact based on it's how you integrate it, and not like it's kind of a standalone. That is how I see it. So for all these tech roles, it's not, nothing is going away, but we are going to, like, human plus AI. That is how I'm looking at. So we are going to work together in order to make it how we are going to build the products or services.
A very comprehensive and I think very structured answer. It gives a good overview of what kind of roles would be impacted and how exactly. I think Sharmila, what I wanted to ask is a similar question, and you can cover your insights as well if you have a different take than Usha, let's say. But in addition to that, what I have also seen like a lot of customers today that we get on Pivot. Um, we are seeing a lot of mid-level program managers, project managers,
Hmm.
product
Mhm.
managers,
Product
right?
managers, yes.
Right.
These three types of folks who are more in managerial capacities, obviously they are doing a lot of the grunt work, documentation,
Mhm.
stakeholder management, ensuring that the product is meeting the client or the customer requirements.
Mhm.
We are seeing a lot of this type of talent also figuring out what's the next step in their career, especially given the
Hmm.
context of AI's rapid evolution. Can you cover these roles as well in your answer, if possible?
Sure, Arjun. So let me firstly start with product managers. So, I mean, I have been interacting with product managers not within Google, but outside Google also, from other product companies also. And also want to highlight a recent post by Andrew Nang from deeplearning.ai. In fact, he had mentioned the importance of GenAI and how product managers are leveraging GenAI for their thought process. Now that as Usha already mentioned, the SDA, the software developers, the QA folks, the automation folks, the backend database folks, and the middleware team, all of them are leveraging AI. But not only the core developers, but apart from them, the product managers can also leverage AI to have that initial conversation of how the end product would look like, what would be its benefits, what would be its use cases, what would be the customer user journeys, right? CUJs that the product managers have to identify, what would be the pros, cons. So lot of that thought process that you might want to discuss with your peer, firstly you could do it with a large language model. So that's something that I have seen product managers doing this, and leveraging GenAI very effectively there. Having said that, program managers and project managers, right? So for project managers, perfectly understand that stakeholder management, right? End customer stakeholder management is one of their tasks. But apart from that, how can they leverage Gen AI to probably have the status updated? Small tasks is where they can use Gen AI. And if they are actually managing a project, if they are managing an AI project, then technical project managers would make very much sense here, because nowadays the mid-level managers, the expectation is not just pure managerial role but also tech PMs, right? Or if you could bring in that flavor to the engagement, or to your current customer requirement, that would also add value to the program managers and project managers also.
Understood. Understood. Got it. Sorry, Usha, did you have something to add? Just wanted to check.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
I just, I'm listening to, yeah, because she made a very good, coherence of all the three. And just one note I could add is like, today it's like it's not the generic product management, program management, project management that companies are looking for. They are looking for how you also can bring that technical skills. Not like you need to know a whole lot about AI, but like in depth, but at least so that you could be able to get the business requirements, and then you're able to talk to the engineering team, the product engineering team, and say like, okay, this is what is required. So they look for those technical product manager, technical program manager, and the technical project manager, right? So that skill is important, not like looking at pure project or uh, product management.
Fair point. Fair point. Got it. So I think, now that we have understood what kind of overall impacts taking place within AI, and I think you've covered pretty exhaustively most of the tech roles. I'm sure there are a couple of others as well that people are thinking about, within their own specific purview. But I think the way that you both have structured your answer probably would, the answers would probably carry over to other types of roles as well, if you're trying to understand which part of your role would be a little more impacted by AI. Like, for example, it's not that project management as a whole, or product management as a whole, or QA as a whole will just be replaced by AI. Is that the certain set of responsibilities and tasks within these roles that are being broken down and
Mhm.
outsourced, or being amplified by AI. And I think that part is very important to understand, because those are the parts that you don't want to spend a lot of time upskilling in, because you will have AI kind of focusing on those aspects, and rather spend your time upskilling and strengthening in areas which will become more human, and more important for people to be able to perform better, so that they can not just retain their jobs but really differentiate themselves from the technology, right? I think
Yeah.
that's an important point. Thanks for highlighting that. The next thing that I wanted to quickly touch upon is the overall job market. I mean, that's another big elephant in the room. You all know how the job market has been. I just talked about Meta laying off another 5% of its workforce, which 5% seems small, but it's actually more than 3,600 people.
Employees,
That's a
yeah.
big number, huge
That
number,
is,
right?
yeah.
And this is after they have already laid off tens of thousands over the last 2 years, and
Correct.
almost every other tech company is following suit, except maybe I'm wrong, but I think Apple might have been the only
Apple,
large tech,
right? Ha,
yeah,
yes, I was also
might have
thinking,
been the
yeah.
only large tech company which has not resorted to layoffs so far, and amazing that they haven't. But what this is doing, and I'm sure you both really understand this well, but for the sake of the audience, what these kind of layoffs are doing, they are flooding the job market with very well qualified and high performing talent,
Hmm.
which would get a job anywhere in a typical job market, in an average job market. But
Right.
because we are not in a typical job market, and it's a very dynamic space to be in right now, because there's a lot of companies who are not hiring, companies that are still laying off, companies that are thinking about how do we use AI agents to replace part of our workforce, become more lean, become more cost effective. They are not these high performers and very experienced folks. They are not necessarily landing new jobs as soon as one would think. Yesterday in Wall Street Journal, there was an article which talked about how even Harvard MBAs are not always landing jobs like they used to, which is again outstanding kind of a statement to hear, because you always think Harvard MBAs would be the first ones to get a job in any sort of market, and even they are facing issues. It's taking at least 6 months to 9 months for them to land a job. So, given this context, right, we know that a large part of the market involves the tech-oriented workforce, meaning people working within tech. It could be people even with non-tech roles, but working within tech, who the jobs, like even an accountant working at a let's say Meta. There's a possibility they might get laid off, even though they're not a techie per se. So, what kind of changes do you foresee in the job market this year, which people should be ready to navigate very quickly? Whether it's layoffs, whether it's new types of opportunities emerging, which people don't foresee yet but are going to happen soon. So both the pluses and minuses, if you can cover. Usha, we'll start with you again.
Okay, sure, yeah. So, see, this is an evolving job market. So it's like just like how it's ever evolving AI landscape. So two things that comes to my mind is like, yes, like many offers got rescinded. The Harvard MBA, Wharton, all those people that I've seen, like they are giving some amount and they are still holding them because they don't want to do redo the interviews again. You have seen all sorts of these in the news, but what I would say is two things that comes into my mind. If let's say somebody is being laid off, before, let's take one step back. Let's say that it's kind of jolty, like in the within the organization, and you are able to sense it that or if we have got some news. So what I would say is always, if you, because I remember Sharmila was also talking about the proof of concept. So I also do a lot of experimentation. So if you're tied to just an innovation group, make sure you're connected to some larger group, like if you're still in a company, because the reason is tied to where it is generating ROI. Where I see is when these layoffs happen is like not just they touch the HR people, they also go into the where it is half of the automation can be done, like with agile programmers, sorry, agile project managers, or then they go to uh, product managers. And then what they do is they also hit the innovation team hugely. If you have seen over the years, I am not pointing out any companies, but if you have seen, like in Microsoft, where they laid off couple of times responsible AI teams. It happened that it's like in other companies also. Like why I'm talking about is like the innovation team is like because you don't generate immediate ROI, but still innovation is kind of a backbone for every company. But when it hits hard, the budget, so what they do is they look at where we are not making money immediate. So let's take out and then bring new talent. Or it is going to be hard, but they know it's like they don't want to retain that talent. So I have been there, I've in those situations. So I would recommend, like if you're more into the innovation side, make sure you tie to some group, like product group that is generating ROI. And don't be just focused on, because we all know if we are engineers, then we love to tinker. And if you're not hardware side of it, then obviously in the software side of it, we want to make sure that we experiment it. And then obviously our core POCs are the ones going to productize. But that is not how the companies see. So beware of that. So, and also what I would say is two things that comes into my mind is what I wanted to say is, when you're preparing, let's say that we are in a situation where we are applying for jobs. Look at definitely, if you're applying for a fintech, make sure that you have the domain knowledge. If not, then don't waste time, because pivot based on what your experience is. But here at also at the same time, you might ask a question saying like, okay, what if I'm coming as a new person, like a new graduate? Then in that case, look at what the projects that you have done, and what projects in your college you have done, and try to base upon it. If it's so that way, let's say you have done a couple of supply chain related projects, then try to apply for those, because you would have gained the domain expertise. And also choose the second one. What I would like to say is like, AI is vast, right? You could be a data scientist, you could be an AML engineer or a solutions architect. It could be anything like that you want to be in that role. But make sure that what is your niche area, what you are comfortable with. I could I could very well write a program, in Python, but probably I am looking at something else. So many people who would have pivoted, who would have joined as a solution architect, would have pivoted into product, or they might have joined it's all the same, right? So, or they might have been doing product, been joined as a product owner, but then would have pivoted as a solution architect or an hardcore, like a AML engineer. So it depends on what is the niche area. You need to figure that out. So that way, the domain expertise and the niche area. If you have targeted it, then upskilling, reskilling, all those things, we can do it. I will pause here, so I will give time for Sharmila.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Usha. You've covered it very well. I
Thank
especially
you.
echo your point. I especially want to double click on your point. I agree with your point that in your organization, stick to those departments, those units that generate business outcome, and that business outcome, that ROI could be either a dollar value or it could be a end customer user experience. So
Exactly.
if you are impacting these both directly or indirectly, and if you're contributing positively here, then those are like positive signs here, right? But in case if you think that you are doing an awesome work but are not directly making a making an impact on the business outcome, then what I would always recommend here is to upskill yourself and always be active in the job market. So this was an advice given to me by my mentor that always I mean, don't just be comfortable in your comfort zone. If you're fine with the day to day regular activities, and if you're seeing that you're unable to make an tie directly to the business outcome, then would strongly recommend you to start applying outside. Even when you are doing great, augment your skill set. So it is very necessary to upskill yourself. Sometimes what we think is, okay, we are in a good department, good team, and everyone's good here, but there are occasions wherein the whole team is impacted. So in this case, it is always good to once in 3 4 months you constantly keep applying outside, even though you are doing good, so that you can get a check, or you can get a pulse of what's the market's expectations for your current role, and what's the expectations for your experience and your skill set. So that is one thing. And constantly upskilling yourself. I know, I mean, I always tell my mentees in pivot as well, that okay, so you need to allocate your some time from your daily busy schedule to upskill yourself. You could do it on a, I mean, probably you could allocate half a day in a week. Probably Friday evenings is what you could allocate, or if you think that Saturday Sunday mornings 2 2 hours, but you definitely need to allocate some time to upskill yourself, because we are in a very what do I say, very agile job market nowadays. And it's not a matter of a big company, small company. Everyone has to be attentive, everyone has to be cautious, and always keep upskilling ourselves is what I would say. And one final thing is, definitely go for certifications, but whatever tasks, whatever work you're doing internally, make sure that you are able to build a story around that, to the external world as well, to the interviews as well. Broadcast yourself. So it is very important to broadcast your work, and publish LinkedIn blogs, LinkedIn posts, publish Medium blogs. That is also very good. Increase your GitHub repository contributions. So do additional things, upskill yourself, so that you stay relevant in market. You don't need to depend on your current work. Even if your current work is going good, sometimes you find that passion somewhere outside as well, right? So if you continuously keep upskilling yourself, always keep your mind engaged and busy. So that is what I would recommend. Always learn and never stop till we are here in this industry.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was That was beautiful. I think very well said, both Sharmila and Usha. I think a lot of insights covered there. Um, Sharmila, actually, the funny thing is that I was going to touch upon, upskilling as an, very next topic as well. And I think it was a good segue. You kind of set the foundation really well for that topic, because you emphasize the importance of it, right? And you brought it up without me even asking, which shows how critical it is for people to actually focus on it right now, right? We are not just covering it as a formality anymore, which a lot of people used to cover it as a, more just like a check the box. Okay, I have to do this certification. I'll do it over the weekend and, just move on with my life. I think it's going from that kind of a mindset to saying, um, that skills portfolio that I possess is not a static thing. It's a dynamic thing. It's going to evolve almost every year at this stage, especially if my role is impacted in any form or fashion by AI. It's going to be probably impacted every year. And how do I understand which parts of my skill portfolio I need to revisit and upgrade? And like you said, sometimes it would be enhancing elements which are more technical in nature. Sometimes it would be elements which are non-technical in nature, and you touched upon both, right? So I think that's very important. Before I just frame the next question for both of you, I just wanted to let the audience know who have joined us today. Firstly, thanks for joining us. Really happy to have you all. We will be taking up your questions for Sharmila and Usha very soon. So please make sure to stay back. I think in just another 5 to 10 minutes, we'll be starting to take all your questions. So share it in the chat, and then I'm sure you'll get good insights on how to actually break through if there is a challenge that you're facing, or perhaps if there is an ambitious goal that you're trying to achieve, how do you achieve that goal? So do stay back, do share your questions. We'll get personalized insights from Usha and Sharmila very soon. Now, going back to the your discussion that we were having, so I think the next thing that I do want to talk about, Usha, would love to get your perspective as well, is on this whole upskilling thing, right? I mean, people have been talking about it since MOOCs first came along in 2011. I think Coursera, 2012, Coursera came out. And since then, it's become much more popular. People are posting, I did this certification, that certification. I'll be honest, when the real time comes for any impactful career, uh, let's say either goals achievement or skills achievement, these courses generally fall short a lot of times. Meaning, let's say I've done I won't take any specific company's name, but let's say I've done a short form course on one of these many platforms that provide very, I would say, very insightful short form courses at times, right? Things that you might not know of, because I have taken these myself and I've learned new things. But the problem in the market is that they are not really valued by employers, a lot of times. There might be a few, right? There are definitely exceptions to the rule. But by and large, what we have seen is you can't just say that, okay, because I have this certification, suddenly it's going to improve my job prospects significantly. It doesn't, right? For majority of people. What we have realized is, what do you do with that knowledge? How do you actually translate that knowledge into perhaps some sort of a practical project, or some new idea, some new pitch deck, something new which is beyond the theory part and goes into the practical implementation. So that's my experience. I'm not sure if it aligns with what both of you think, but I would love to understand from you both things. Firstly, what kind of skills should people in tech be thinking about depending on their different roles? How should they evaluate which skills they need to be focusing on in the context of AI specifically? That's part one of the question. And the second question is, once we have identified which skills to pursue or to upgrade, how do we figure out the best avenues, the best channel, the best methods to acquire that knowledge, to strengthen our skill set, right? That actually has practical impact on our job prospects, as opposed to just, in theory, we have one more certification to our kitty. So, Usha, would love to start with you.
Right, certificate oriented culture. So when you get into those companies, then you can think about, okay, if you want to do some certification, they give you that leeway period, 3 to 6 months, or within that year, or you need to have some kind of certification. And let's say if you're going into the cloud side of it to build applications where you're moving applications from on-prem to cloud, or you're building applications on the cloud, then have one of these three technologies, or there are more like Snowflake and other cloud technologies. So try to see like one base. It's like how, if you know one SQL flavor, you can apply that to the other. So the same way, you have one basic certification just for the sake of it, so that, and then let's say that the company is, let's say you have taken AWS certification as a cloud architect, or some core certification, and then let's say the company is more tend towards Google or Microsoft products, that their infrastructure they are using. It doesn't mean you we need to get that certification right away. So because as long as you brush up on those cloud technology and able to answer in the interview, that should do. But I would also say, like, Arjun brought a very good point. Like, we started off with all these MOOC platforms, and then slowly went towards, all these three tech giants, offering these certifications, and we don't know which one to go with, what to do. And if in this audience majority or students, I would say something here. So I have placed so many students in the industry, but what when I was at ASU, I've done is like, I would create a win-win situation for, if I'm going and asking um, projects to be done on site, I would say, like, you would be able to get somebody to volunteer for, try to have that. Do not ask for pricing, like, to get payment. Of course that is needed for sustenance, but in order to build projects, what I would say is, whoever your academic advisor, whoever you're connecting with for the industry partners, try to uh, try to say, like, even if you're meeting them in the career fair, try to tell them, like, you could do something for free. And so that they would, because they get the labor free, but I could be able to gain the industry skills. If they do not have something as apprenticeship, because apprenticeship, if they have a program something like that, then they hire you, and they you would be able to apply that industry skills. If they don't have such thing, like small or mid-sized companies don't have something as apprenticeship program, then you could say, like, okay, this is what I would like to do, because so that I could make use of my time. So you not only learn, be in you're put in that project, and that comes through the college or the university, and you are also able to learn. It's like a win-win situation, in the sense, like, the colleges university is also able to get benefited, because they are placing the students to learn that skill, industry skill. And you're like every day, like, you're connecting with the a not a necessarily, like, to your product team you're associated with. Probably they give a very small stipend, but you would learn quite a lot. If that option is not available, and what I would say is, build that online portfolio, create the digital footprint, like, as um, Sharmila was mentioning, create, not just writing articles on Medium, Substack, but how you can say, like, oh, I built this. um, I follow one of the Victoria Sermon, who is a AWS person, like, where she provides lot of small projects. You could be able to build those projects, and then you can showcase it in your portfolio. It's so those are the things that is, so once you're get to go into it, like, your knowledge is flooded in, where you, let's say you get an industry opportunity, like a startup, even it's a startup, like, okay, I have done this, I could be able to apply it. So that is very important. And one more thing I want to call it out here is, this is we are talking in the context of AI for upskilling, but the best avenues, these are the best avenues I'm talking about, because any industry part, and also the professors in the labs, they would be willing to take you volunteering. That's why I even tell my kids, do not go and say, like, oh, I would work for, what would be the pay. Do not ask like that. So always go and volunteer first, and then once they get to know how well you're fitting in, like how well you are contributing, then obviously the professors provide you a graded job, or provide you, like, not a graded job, provide you like something like as a research assistant. So that is possible. It's how we communicate is very very critical here. So, and one thing that my father always used to say, why ask me, because he stayed in one company and he retired after 45 years. So he would say like, why in the world in the IT people like try to switch every 2 to 3 years? And he would ask my husband too. So what I would say is like, it's because like we do not want to get too comfortable in if you are too comfortable in a job, then we are not growing. That is how I take it. So if we are not growing, then we are not challenging ourselves. So make sure that we are not too comfortable in a job. If we are too comfortable, this is it's not home, right? Like, because we are trying to get challenge and compete among other people, other peers and colleagues that we have. So how we stand out matters a lot. So in that case, I would say how we grow definitely matters. So if you're too comfortable, that means that is giving you the sign you need to move. Not move outside the company, you can even find roles within your company to move to different departments. So think about that, and I will leave it to Shamila to talk more on how to upskill.
Sure. Thank you so much, Usha. That was very well framed answer. So Arjun, to talk about the kind of skills and evaluate which skills are required. So to answer that, right, that would depend. I mean, for working professionals who already have some experience, that would depend on their current skill set, the current tasks, the current roles that they are doing. And if they want to upskill themselves, start with something that is related to your current skill set. So that
Yes.
would be my advice here. So that when you project it in your resume, so there could be scenarios wherein you get to work on your new skill set, or there could be scenarios that you have learned everything, you have done everything, but still in your current company you don't get an opportunity to work in that, right? So in that case, you need to build a transition story in your resume. That story should come out. And my suggestion here is, don't work on small problem sets. Recently I was just sharing the same advice to one of the mentees in Pivot also, that when you take a problem statement, you should have explored all the options there, or just go to YouTube, or just see the blogs that are there. For a given problem statement, there would be many challenges. In your resume, those challenges should come out, the number of experiments should come out, the metrics that you improved should come out. So all those numbers should come out. And on your new upskilled skill set, right, you should be able to talk about that for 40 to 45 minutes with confidence. So that confidence will come when you have spent lot of time and you have experimented a lot on a given problem statement. Whatever you have learned now, you have spent enough time, you understand the challenges, you understand how to solve it, and then you also put in numbers there. So that would come by experience in doing, learning that, and also failing the interviews. So with your new skill set, let's say you're a data person, and you have recently learned AI, and you want to transition to AI. Now you have done couple of courses in Coursera, you have seen good YouTube videos, you have built your GitHub profile, you have done good projects. Now if you want to move there, what you need to do is, you need to take that problem statement and explain confidently for 45 minutes. And that would come only if you fail the first 10 interviews. Now don't feel demotivated that you have failed, you are unable to clear so many interviews. What you should be taking are the questions which you were not able to answer. Take that question, include it in your resume, see how to incorporate that point that the previous interviewer was looking forward to. Take that question and mention it as a response in your next interview. So this is how, after 10 interviews, you will be able to confidently clear the 11th interview with an upskilled or new skill set. Even though you wouldn't have real world experience, but you would have worked on it, and you would have done a good job there. So that would be my take on how to do this. And I perfectly agree with Arjun's point as well, that just doing courses might give you just the ABC of it, but how do you build words, how do you build words and sentences on top of it? You need to have that entire story thought through in mind, right? So before giving an interview, if there's something that you have written in your resume that's new, right, so make sure that you're very thorough about it. and you should be able to understand and confidently talk about each and every single word that you have written in your resume for that particular project. So that much of effort and that much of interview experience you would need in case if you want to clear on a new skill set.
One thing I would like to add,
Yeah,
Sharmila,
go ahead,
you
Usha. Going
touched
to ask
upon
you.
beautifully. Thank you. So there is something called T-shaped skill set today. What even World Economic Forum has pointed that out, where because as she was mentioning about Sharmila, like we need to that is like T-shaped skills means you need to possess both the deep expertise in one specific area, that niche area that I talked about, and then a broad range of skills where it is like okay a deep expertise in the sense. Let me give you an example. Since we are talking about software engineering, a software engineer, they might have a deep expertise in me coming from backend development. So backend development with like skills, they have worked in Java, Spring Boot, they know how to do cloud computing, they have also leveraged how to write in Python. But the broad skills that they are talking about is how you can, like, the art of storytelling, which Shamla was talking about, how to collaborate across the disciplines, so that like across cross functional teams. Never be siloed. Even if your company is very siloed, try to collaborate and contribute to the projects beyond your primary expertise, the niche area. So this could be like, as I mentioned about recalling that design principles. So you also know how to effectively work in an agile, because it's very agile fluid market today, right? In a very agile, it's like it's fail fast is what it is, right? So learn and fail fast. But from that, what mistakes you learn and how you take those mistakes and work towards it, and communicate those technical concepts to non-technical audience in a articulating it. That is very critical. That is what they talk about as the T-shaped. The vertical bar, it talks about the broad range, and then the horizontal bar, yeah, the vertical bar, the horizontal bar that they talk about is across the cross functional teams, across the industry verticals. So once you have this deep expertise and the broad skills, and you, the art of storytelling, still I am learning, but it takes practice, takes time. But for some people it comes just like that. But it means probably it is like it's a God's gift. And utilize that, you communicating the technical concepts to non-technical audience is very critical. Like Shamila coming from Google, where she would be connecting with so many customers. We need to know how we are able to talk to the customers in layman terms, in simple terms, and that is very critical. If we can adopt the T-shaped skill set, then definitely we can be more resilient to this. However many layoffs happen, however the technological landscape changes, we will make ourselves robust in this.
I think very well covered. Thank you both for sharing those thoughts. One point that's being emphasized by both of you, and I completely wholeheartedly agree with that, is that just having the technical skill and kind of doing the work, building your project, it's not really enough anymore. And it may not be true, to be honest, to the same degree for every person. There are some people for whom it may apply more than the others, I would say. But that skill of being able to communicate effectively within the company and outside the company, what kind of work you have delivered over the let's say last year, and how it has impacted your team, your clients, your organization as a whole, I think that's becoming more and more important. And very few people, especially in the markets that we operate in, especially country like India, I see that less so. I'll be candid, with regard to candidates that I have seen in other countries, especially the Western markets. I've seen that a little more. So I think this is a skill which is becoming more and more important, and people are trying to figure out how to actually acquire it. One of the things that I have learned after working with hundreds of folks on their transitions is that no matter what kind of transition you're pursuing, and some of them are very very difficult and challenging because you're starting over, you're perhaps starting after a work gap, and there might be perceived biases against you in the market. I think the most important thing is not what you are exactly going to do in the next role. The most important thing is to communicate effectively why you are actually making the transition and why should the company who you are targeting hire you. So these things become much more important at the time of a job search or a career transition, rather than just thinking about matching your skill set with what the JD is asking for. That's important too, but that's table stakes. You can't differentiate yourself through that because everybody is doing that. The way you differentiate yourself is helping employers, recruiters, hiring managers understand why they should hire you. What is it that's different about you versus other candidates? And there comes the storytelling and the communication skills, because you can't just depend on your work to speak for itself. You have to highlight it. You have to be your own champion. So, anyways, I think we have really emphasized this quite a bit. I hope people will take this away as a key point for today at least. I do want to take a couple of questions that have come up through the audience here. One of the questions, which is, I think, probably a response to something we were talking about earlier, is I'm going to reflect on the screen from Avantika about why are there so many layoffs being projected. Right, that's a interesting point since we have discussed layoffs and how AI is going to potentially replace certain aspects of people's role, not the entire role, perhaps. Um, do you want to talk about why companies are still laying off? Because they are very profitable. We have seen the income statements, they're all in public. They are sitting on tens of billions of dollars of profit. There is no reason, a lot of times when you have economic downturns, you understand, okay, companies can't survive unless they lay off, right? They won't be able to pay salaries, for example. That's not the case with the large tech companies and many other companies as well that we are seeing today who are laying off. Um, Either of you, Usha, perhaps you, if you want to take a stab, or Sharmila, whoever wants to go ahead. Would
Sure.
love to understand why you think these layoffs are happening and how would they specifically impact the tech professionals.
Okay, so want to start with this fact that layoffs have always been part of the tech industry. So we all of us know about the PIP program, performance improvement program. So companies usually put folks in there, and then they take the next steps, right? So layoffs have always been part of it, but just that now the reasons stated by these companies are because of AI optimizations, because of lean structure that we want. So there could be reorgs also possible, like Usha just mentioned, right? A few teams might be replaced, or they might just merge two teams and then remove, and might have because of that few folks might be impacted. So those things are also possible. But having said that, with the advent of AI, definitely there has been productivity enhancement in the workforce, and that is one of the reasons why tech companies are taking this as a reason, that there is productivity enhancement there, therefore we want to reduce this, they are taking this. One message that I want to pass on here is, we shouldn't see AI as an enemy. We should see AI as my friend. I mean, that's how I see it, as my best friend who is there to support me. With the recent Gen AI models, the Gen AI capabilities, let me augment my skill set and see how I can leverage Gen AI in my day-to-day activities to improve my productivity. So that's how I would, in turn, instead of focusing more on layoffs, I would just turn my direction, my vision on the positive side, seeing how can I leverage Gen AI to improve my productivity and stay relevant to the company.
Yeah. See, and
Well said. Yeah, Usha,
yeah.
please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So see, when also like when the business strategy pivots, because if you have noticed, like the Meta one that we are talking about, which is going to happen by February 10th. So you see like all the messages that's going on LinkedIn and other social media is like, okay, why when they have recruited last year and why they are laying off now? Probably they are coming up with new products and they are trying to pivot their business strategy. This happens. So what we can do is like, because this is going to be that way, if once you get into IT, it's the into the technology space, this is like something like we need to face it. So what you can do is like try to do the knowledge sharing within your organization. Try to show that visibility. Don't be like, okay, only my project leader and the reporting leader and only my team would know me, and nobody else outside would know. So if we are like that, then definitely we are the next one to be in the line to be chopped off, in the sense, like to go out. Because they like, let's say you do this lunch on series, come up with like two or three people that you work buddies you group up with, and do some lunch on series. Even if there are one person turning up, you still, like, you in a cafeteria or something, like you are trying to share some project, you never know, that would be like, oh, I know this guy, I know this girl, like she always does something. So that visibility, okay, I even it doesn't have to go up until pip, like, because it's not always about performance. You might have got strong rating, but you still, we might be in the in the list to be gone, like. But what we can do is like, okay, oh, she is like she or he, that visibility is there. So, and she is being recognized by everybody, and some kind of effort is happening, and it's not just this particular team is knowing. So that knowledge sharing, visibility, and trying to show like, okay, you are passionate, those are the things that they look for. So that you don't you are still being retained. It's just from the experience I'm talking about. And also, like, you see, like, people will say like, okay, let's say that time comes where they say like, okay, would you like to that reorg that Sharmila mentioned, whether you could be able to go to some other role, unless it is connected to it. I was in a situation where they said, can you be able to take something in DevOps? I said no, I don't want to do something apart from my core competency. I said, okay, I will work out with the package. So if you're confident of that, definitely you could do that. And but I understand there is underlying visa issues and other things if you are in a different country. If not, then definitely you do not have to pivot from the core competency. It's not about you can't learn, but depending on in which stage of your career you are, you can make and do the right choice. That is what I would say. So, and good luck to everybody in here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing those insights, Usha and Sharmila. I think we are, past our time actually, just a few minutes. We do have one more question, but I was just wondering if you both have the time to take it quickly before we wrap up. Sharmila, are you okay with that as well?
Haha, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, this should be quick. I think we should still be able to wrap up within the next 2, 3 minutes. Question is for all of us about the impact of AI on engineering leads specifically. I think team managers and folks who are, not necessarily doing the daily coding and technical work, but rather, managing a team of engineers. And how do they, I guess coping is one of the words. I would say more like leverage AI in their roles, right? And in the context of India versus international jobs, as well as the degree of impact on both individual contributor versus manager roles. I think most of the roles in engineering leads would be, I would assume, a
Managerial.
managerial role. Very few would be IC roles if you're a lead. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting question. I know we have covered a lot throughout this conversation that would impact both, um, a lead and a non-lead. So how can we carve out whatever we have covered in a slightly more nuanced and targeted manner, Sharmila and Usha, for specifically people who are leading teams, who are leading projects? Sharmila, if you want to maybe take a stab at this
Yes,
first.
please.
Sure, Arjun. So, for engineering leads, the expectation from the current market is not just to be on a managerial role, but also be on a techno managerial. For engineering leads, what my recommendation would be to be more technical, hands-on. Just try to be a bit of hands-on. I know as you grow up the ladder, you might not have time for the hands-on task, but at least understand what are the challenges that the ICs might face, right? So that sort of guidance, if you could give to ICs, that would be helpful. And impact of AI on engineering leads, again, I would say here, to augment AI to your skill set, have that as your best friend. And then for in your day-to-day task, in whatever projects, that engineering projects that you're leading, see how you can leverage AI, get that knowledge from external sources too, and then see how you can pass that knowledge to your team also. You could have those knowledge sharing sessions, just like Usha mentioned, wherein you are actually sharing knowledge about, let's say, agentic AI is something new, right? So you read about it in blogs, you ask to your best LLM model, and then you learn about it, and then share that knowledge, and see how you can incorporate new concepts that you are learning in your project. See how you can bring in that additional value, additional knowledge to your current engineering project. So that is one thing that I would see on a positive note, how you can leverage AI for the engineering leads. And India versus international remote jobs working from India. So, I mean, I've actually worked with customers across all the different regions, and to be honest, yeah, Indian customers are a bit difficult, and their expectations are really difficult. So you might actually see the difference in the level of technical knowledge when you work with your counterparts in India versus your international counterparts. It might be easy for you to convince your US customer, your Australian customer, your UK customer too. But when you're talking to your Indian counterparts, they might be on a different level, because we as Indians, we usually tend to I mean, I have actually seen that they are on the higher side of the knowledge that we are seeing here. So that is one thing. But yeah, leverage AI and Gen AI to your advantage, make that as your buddy, and then just go ahead with that.
Yeah.
Usha, any thoughts?
You have, yeah, you have touched upon everything. So it's about only one liner I would like to give. It's like for the engineering leads, whether it's IC or a managerial role. As Sharmila mentioned, AI is your companion. Take advantage of that, and then leverage that. The Gen AI, and try to do that knowledge sharing of any new thing that you learn, and try to see how you can incorporate that into your project. And best coding practices as an engineering lead, what you can give for your team, or even as an IC, you can definitely be able to suggest that. And usually engineering leads do the refactoring the code, that they look into code reviews, in addition to the people management, right? So and a whole lot of mentoring also they would be doing, based on whether it's an apprenticeship, internship, or work study programs that they are slated in. So I think, like, whether you yeah, the India and the remote job market, I think Sharmila covered it well. This is all that I wanted to share. Yeah, any other questions in addition to it, let me know.
Great. No, I think we are done. Thank you so much both for staying a bit longer and answering, all these questions that we got. Um, I think there was a lot of ground covered. Good thing is that we have recorded this session, so it will be available for people to watch it later as well.
Okay.
But I would suggest that anybody who has joined us today, if there are any specific questions you have which were not answered, or any personalized support that you're looking for, to definitely reach out to either of the speakers that are here. We are sharing a screen with the specific barcode. I hope you can see it. You can scan the code in case you would like to touch base with them and connect one on one to get your specific questions answered or get their support on your career goals. You can also check out our platform mypivot.work. The barcode is right here. And with that, we will bring today's session to a close. Again, want to take a moment to thank everybody for joining us today, and really specifically thank you to Sharmila and Usha. You both shared a lot of good insights, which I think are being talked about in a very generic way in media, but we were able to really pinpoint exactly how people are going to get impacted and what they should be doing with different contexts in mind. So thank you so much for sharing your experience and insights. Lovely having you both again on the panel.
Thank you so
Sure.
much.
Thank you so much, Arjun, for the invitation. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. All right. I hope everyone has a good rest of the day. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.